Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Sid's Little Corner of the Internet. We've got another Transformers review coming your way. This time around, we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers the Movie Studio Series 86 Gnaw. And I'm telling you now, I like this little dude, so let's go ahead and get into it. And we'll start, as we always do, with the packaging. And we'll bring that right up front. And you've got that Gnaw artwork right there, Studio Series 8608, Transformers the Movie. And over here on the side, you've got your artwork. On the back, you have your product shots. It's big screen inspired, mockery of justice, and Gnaw and the Sharkticons lurk beneath Quintesson courtroom, ready to carry out the sentence of any bot unlucky enough to fall victim to Quintesson justice. And you've got the backdrop included, and you have all your warnings down here, and you do have the sad baby. Over here on the side, you've got the 8608 Studio Series and a close-up of that lovely face. Up top, Transformers movie. Down low, manufacturing information. And that is it for the outside of the packaging, so let's go ahead and take a look at everything that came inside that box. And here's everything that comes inside that box, so we'll start as we always do with your little sheet of warnings. And you get the instructions. And here is two accessories, so we'll start with the rifle over here. So this isn't anything too spectacular, it's not painted, but it's got a decent amount of molded in detail there, and it does have this tab right here, this little pin where you can pin it in his Sharkticon mode, so he has some weapon storage. There's the other side. And then you have his tail / melee weapon club that he uses in bot mode, and this is pretty cool. I really like the detail that they put in there. Again, this is unpainted, but the detail is nice. And you do have a joint down here, so you can angle this however you wish, as his tail or as his club. And that is it as far as the accessories and everything that came inside the box, except for the backdrop, which you see right here. And I assume this is the Quintesson Pit of Justice. There's not a lot of detail, not a lot going on back there to really make out what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the idea that it's the Quintesson Pit of Justice. And yeah, like I've said in previous reviews, I really appreciate that Hasbro has these backdrops as part of the Studio Series line. I don't have enough room on my shelf for them. I think they're a nice touch, but mine is going to go back in the box, and then the box is going to go into storage. So if you have room, they are absolutely a great display piece. So that's everything that came inside the box except for the Sharkticon himself. So let's bring him in for his close-up and look at those details. And here we have Mr. Sharkticon himself, so let's bring him in for a close-up there and get a nice good look at everything. So we'll start right up here with that head, which I think looks wonderful. I like what they've done with the eyes there. I think that's a really cool touch. And even if you look back here, everywhere you look on this figure, there is tremendous amount of detail. So even back here underneath, hopefully I can get enough there, that I believe are extra rows of teeth. I think that's what they molded in there, just like a great white shark or other sharks, how they're constantly shedding teeth and constantly bringing more teeth to the front. I think that's the effect that they're going for there, so that's really cool. And good detail down in there. And of course the teeth themselves look great, and you've got these little blue horns. And great paint apps on this thing. I mean, there's quite a bit of paint on this figure. For a deluxe class figure, there's a good amount of paint on there, and what they have looks really good. Good molded in detail there on that big old belly. He's got a bit of a Galvatron 4-pack going on right there too. And you got that green right there, and then coming down to the legs. Again, same thing. Look at all this detail in there. Just looks great. And then he looks like he's wearing Uggs. He's got big old blue boots on. But they look good. And coming over here to the hands. Would have been nice if these would have been able to fold back. Get them out of the way, but that's okay for a figure at this price point. Not really complaining, just noticing. And then coming around here to the back. This little fin comes off. For transformation, you're supposed to have it tilted upward like this and then down, well, of course when he's in Sharkticon mode, but at least on my copy it's not the tightest fit, so it doesn't take much at all to bump it and move it. So if that's crooked, apologies. And then there is the top of the shark, which we'll see in his shark mode as well. And then coming back here, he does have a few little hollow spaces right there, and then in the backs of those hands. These are for transformation. This, I think, is just cost savings. They're not the worst, but it would have been nice to have had those filled in. But yeah, I mean, overall, the the overall look of this guy, he's not very big, but he's very well put together and he looks great. So now that we've got the details out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about that articulation. So we'll start up here at the head, and with the head you can get just a wee little bit of side to side, and you can get some up, and you can get a good amount of down. I don't know what he's looking at in there. Hey, what's in there, buddy? What you got? And then you can take that head all the way around if you want to do so. At the arms, bring them up. They go that far up, and they'll go all the way around. At the elbows, you get a really generous elbow bend right there, so that's nice. And you do get bicep rotation. And then right here at the wrists, there's no wrist rotation. You just get that wrist tilt in, primarily for transformation, but you could use it for posing as well. Unfortunately, there's nothing at the waist, but that's just due to the way that he's designed as far as the transformation goes. I don't really miss it in this figure. I think everything else, articulation-wise, is done pretty darn good, so it helps out quite a bit, especially down here with the legs. You get a lot of motion in the legs, which is nice. So speaking of those legs, now if you do the splits with his legs oriented like that, you don't get much. However, if you can get them out of the way, bring them out like this, you can get great split on this guy. He's not going to go Van Damme for you, but you can get a good split. And as far as kicking forward, he'll kick forward that far. And then this is a little tricky back here as well, because he can kick backward that far before he runs into himself, but if you bring that leg out just a little bit, you can get a little bit extra if you're wanting to do some kind of dynamic poses. He has thigh rotation right up here, so you can take that all the way around if you choose to do so. At the knees, you get 90 degrees. And then down here at the feet, you've got a couple different points of articulation. This is due to transformation, but you can, right here at this pin, you can bring that foot back that far if you want to do so. Bring it forward that far. And then down here, you have your ankle tilt. And what an ankle tilt it is. Would have been nice to have some filler right there. Again, that's just kind of a wish list item. It is not a complaint. Just he looks a little Pac-Man-y right there. You know, work, 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 work. So, but yeah, I mean, that's it for the details and the articulation. And I do have to say that I think for the most part, this little dude is really well done when it comes to that. You can get him in some great poses, and he's got a good center of gravity, or good low center of gravity and good balance. And those feet are big enough that they hold him in some pretty dynamic poses, which is very much appreciated. So let's go ahead and get into the transformation on this guy and go from there. So to get Mr. Sharkticon into his beast mode, or his shark mode, first thing you're going to want to do is take these hands, fold those hands in on either side, and then you're just going to lift this collar piece up right here and grab right back here. Just give this a nice pull. There's really nothing holding it, just a little bit of friction. Bring that out, and then you are going to have essentially his big old ugly face looking straight down. When you do that, just clear these arms out of your way. Take this, rotate it 180 degrees. It's on a main pin right there, so rotate that so it's facing that orientation. When you do that, take this, just grab this piece right here. You're going to lift this up, and when you lift that up, that's going to come about 90 degrees up. So you're going to be open like that. So it was like that, and you're coming up, and you're positioning it as such. When you do that, that's going to expose a couple of these pegs right here, and then on the bottoms of these feet, you've got these pins. Now, you can use these for effects, but they're also the transformation pegs right here. So you're going to fold these legs up just like that. You're going to bring them in, and then you're going to align the holes to the pegs and give those a push. And then this is going to make basically his guts, the center of his body, his torso. So fold both of those up, stick them in. Should have something that looks like that. Now what you can do is you can bring this assembly up and over the top of that. And now you have this little clip assembly right there. So you have a tab right in there, and then you have that little clip right there. Bring it in, give it a squeeze. That's going to hold all that in place. And open his mouth up right here, because what you want to do is you want to take his head and tuck his head down and away. So that way when he's coming at you, it just looks like he's got a, I don't know, serrated tongue. Let's go with that. And you can swing those arms forward. Do that on both sides. turn his fin backwards, and now we're just finishing up down here with the legs. All you need to do for the legs, swing those around and position those however you want. And now what we need to do is, he is missing something. So now you're going to need to bring in his little club, or his tail now. And you're going to want to put that on. You put it on with these fins up, or these spikes up. So plug it in. And then he's got his tail, and you can adjust him any way you want to now. So bring his arms down and set this feller up any way you want to do it. So give his legs a little bit of a bend so it's a little more of a natural stance. He doesn't look like he's so straight-legged. There you go. And there you have the Studio Series 86 Sharkticon in his shark or his beast mode. And this dude looks so cool. I love this guy. I love him in both modes, but he looks great in his shark mode here as well. So let's go ahead and bring him in, and we'll look at the details in the shark mode as well, because he's definitely worth looking at here. So starting right up front, look at those big old green eyes. Just looks fantastic. And he's got good paint apps everywhere, big old pink purple gums, and then there's those chompers. He looks very angry right there, doesn't he? It just looks like angry eyebrows. Get off my yard. And coming over here to these arms. Skinny little arms, but everybody knows all the work happens right here. And then you can see just how those legs tuck away in there. I think that's good engineering, good design. And we've seen those legs before. They were arms in the bot mode. Looks good up here. And of course we saw that tail when it was a club. And looking underneath, he is playing a little bit of peekaboo with that visible head syndrome right there, but pay no mind to that. You're not supposed to see it. So we'll just do that. There you go. Now, as far as articulation goes, as you can tell, he's got good jaw movement right there. His arms, you can bend them at the elbows. So let me get him up here so they're easier to see. So you can go pretty much all the way around right here with these, and then you can get the elbow bend about that far, and then they straighten out about that far. It looks like he's trying to shake your hand. Or he's like the guy from Scary Movie 2, take my strong hand. Just doing the mashed potatoes. For those of you who haven't seen Scary Movie 2, sorry. That's just what it reminded me of. It reminded me of Chris Elliott. And then down here at the legs, just like with the arms, I mean, you can take these all the way around. You can bring them out. You can rotate them. You can bend them. And pretty much do what you want. And then with this tail, you can turn the tail any direction you want to turn it. You can lift it up. You can take it down, side to side. Whatever you want to do. So yeah, this is one cool little guy. All right, so now that we've got the details and the articulation out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about his accessory and how you use his accessory in his beast mode. There's really nothing to it. You have a peg, you have a port, plug it in, and there you go. All right, so now that we've got all that out of the way, let's go ahead and we'll bring in some comparisons, and we'll see how he stacks up to some of the other figures out in the other universes. Before we get started with all the other comparisons, I did want to take a moment and focus on the main point of comparison here and spend a little bit of time on it, and that's going to be, you know, against the G1 Gnaw. So it's really fun to see just how many callbacks the Studio Series has to this guy, and this is one of my favorite Transformers from Transformers the movie. I liked him more than any of the other Transformers the movie figures that came out at the time. He was just fun. I mean, I thought he had a couple clever engineering tricks I hadn't seen on other figures, and he's still fun today, and I just love the look of this guy, those big chrome teeth in the front. And I wanted to take the moment to show you the comparison directly and get a couple different views here so you can see just how good of a job they've done between the two. So yeah, I mean, big green buggy eyes, big old teeth, little tiny weak arms in the front, even down to the feet, looking real similar to each other. So yeah, all that's really cool. And then let's turn him that way. And there we go. His fin keeps wanting to get a little crooked on me whenever I touch it. But I mean, even from the back here, it's just fun. I really like all the similarities with what they've done here between the two. And let's go head to head. And we'll do back to back. All right. So, like I said, I just wanted to take a few extra moments and really kind of deep dive on these two guys, just so you could see all the similarities between the Studio Series and the original G1 Gnaw. So let's go ahead and get into the rest of the comparisons. Our next comparison is the Age of Extinction Snarl. Next comparison is a fellow character from the 86 movie. This is the Studio Series 86 Slug or Slag, whatever you want to call him. And our last alt mode comparison is the Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom and or Earthrise Leader Class Optimus Prime. That's it for the alt mode comparisons. Let's go ahead and get him transformed back into his bot mode. So to get Mr. Sharkticon transformed back into his robot mode, you're just going to take these little Sharkticon arms right there. You're going to bring these back just like this. So they're on either side of his body, approximately like that. Take the tail, take that off and put it off to the side. Take this fin. You can rotate it now or you can rotate it later, or you can rotate it any time in between. I'm just going to rotate it now. And right here, you're just going to take these two sections and give them a little bit of a pull. And that's going to separate them. So that way they're separated right there. And then you're going to take this piece right here and you're going to lift this up and bring it back and around as such. That's going to allow you now to take these legs and pull these legs out. Do that on both sides. When you take these legs out, that's going to open this cavity up, which is going to allow you to now tuck this piece in right there. All right. And after you've done that, go ahead and pull these arms out of your way, because now you're going to take this assembly and you're going to rotate that 180 degrees up. And I'm going to go ahead and move those arms out of my way even further. Now you're going to take all of this, bring this back on that hinge point right there, and then you're just going to drop this into place. And really the only thing that's holding this is friction. Once you're here, you can just drop that lower jaw, bring this jaw all the way back so it's cleared the head, and grab his little head and give it a pull. Not with a lot of force, you just need to pull it up so he can see over his teeth. And once you've done this, now you're down in the home stretch. All you're doing is pulling these fists out and then just a little bit of cleanup. So get those legs straightened out, get them at a good angle, and then set him down. And there you have Mr. Sharkticon back in his robot mode. So what we'll do now is we'll throw his accessories on so you can see how he looks in robot mode with all of his weaponry, and we'll go from there. And here he is with his accessories in his hands. So of course, as you can see, he has the rifle here, he has the club here, and I got to tell you, for the most part, he really pulls it off. I mean, this is a cool little figure. I really dig this guy. So yeah, he looks good in shark mode, he looks good in bot mode, he looks good with his accessories all the way around. I think this guy is just fun. No doubt about it. There you go. All right, so now that we've seen him with his accessories in hand, let's go ahead and get into those bot mode comparisons. So for our first robot mode comparison, we're going to do just like we did for the shark mode, and we're going to take a little bit of a deep dive here between the new Studio Series Sharkticon against the G1 Sharkticon, and you can see looking at them right here just how much the designers drew from the G1 Sharkticon. So we're just going to take a minute here and take a good look at that and just see all the similarities between the two of these guys. So you can see everything. I mean, even these the blue horns, whatever you want to call them, they both have them. Of course, the teeth, the overall design in the front looks very similar. They're both short, stubby little dudes, but very dangerous, of course. Head sculpt is really similar between the two. Now there is a different eye color, and I very much like what they've done here. I think he looks really good in this new iteration. Color schemes are real similar. Even kind of taking a look at the side here. Now the one complaint, again we're talking G1 here. This guy has tiny. Oh, just like that. It's like he knew what I was going to say. This figure has really tiny feet with no heel spur, and he's got a lot going on back here, so it makes it really easy for him to tip over. So, much better job done here. But all that aside, I mean, you can see as far as the overall design aesthetic, you have the little arms coming down on both sides. You get the big old green eyes and the top of the head hanging off the back. So a lot of similarities there. Bring it up to the back. If he doesn't fall, stay. So you can see some good similarities there as well. And we'll put them face to face. And back to back. I'm going to use the new guy to keep the old guy propped up. There you go. So, like I said, I just wanted to take a moment to, really appreciate everything that they've done here to go from the old design to the new design, and bring so many of those design points in to the new one while still modernizing it and giving us a really, really cool figure. So let's go ahead and we'll move on now to the rest of the robot mode comparisons. Our next comparison is the Studio Series Leader Class Slug, or Slag, whatever you want to call him. Next up is the Studio Series 86 Hot Rod. Here's Mr. Ba Weep Grano Weep Ninny Bong himself, Mr. Kup from the Studio Series 86 line. For a fellow Quintesson minion comparison, here we see the Quintesson Alicon from the Transformers War for Cybertron line. And of course I had to do it. I had to sneak in my universal scale. So this is the Leader Class Optimus Prime from the Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom and/or Earthrise line. And just as a point of reference from another Transformers universe, here is Fangry from the Buzzworthy Bumblebee Worlds Collide 4-pack, the Headmaster. And here's a group shot of the Studio Series 86 line so far up to the Sharkticon himself. And our last group comparison is any and all figures related to the 86 Transformers movie, either from the Transformers War for Cybertron line or the Studio Series 86 line. So this is the collection that I have so far. And I think it's coming together looking pretty good. This is kind of amazing to see all these figures right here. So I hope you enjoyed it. And let's go ahead and move on to those final thoughts. So let's go ahead and talk about those final thoughts for the Studio Series 86 Gnaw. I'll start off first of all just by saying that I really like this figure. I like him in both of his modes. Robot mode looks good. The Sharkticon mode looks fantastic. So let's go ahead and break this down using a few bullets here. First of all, starting with the aesthetics, the overall look of the figure. I mean, for a deluxe class mainline figure, this thing looks great. As I just mentioned, the robot mode is really cool. The shark mode or the alt mode is really cool. I like them both. He looks wonderful. So he's got some great shelf presence there. I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10 on the aesthetics. Articulation wise, this guy has everything you're ever going to want except for that waist rotation. Due to the way he was designed, there's just no waist rotation there. It would have been really nice if they could have found a way to integrate it. I don't know how they could have, but for the most part, this guy has all the right joints in all the right places, and they do all the right things that you want him to. A wish list item would have been wrist rotation, but because of the transformation with the wrists swinging inward, I can understand why they didn't add in the extra cost to do that. So for the most part, I think articulation is very well done on this figure. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 on articulation. Moving on to the accessories. He's a Sharkticon. I mean, what do we really expect as far as accessories go here? The fact that he comes with a gun is great. It was not something that I would have expected for a Sharkticon. Based on my G1 Sharkticon, absolutely makes sense that he has a melee weapon made from his tail. But I think the tail, between the two accessories, the tail is by far better than the gun. This is just gray molded plastic. There's not a lot of excitement to it. So although he comes with an accessory I wasn't expecting in the rifle, I'm slightly disappointed that there aren't any paint apps, or maybe a little bit of additional detail in there. So I think they could have done a little bit better. So for the accessories, I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. Now, for the overall quality of the figure out of the box, I didn't have any issues with this figure, or I don't have any issues with this figure. He is, all the joints are tight. He came with everything he was supposed to. His paint apps look great. The only thing that I could really complain about from a quality standpoint is his dorsal fin is a little loose, so it's very easy to twist that around so it's not straight either in robot or the shark mode. So that's so minor, but if that's my biggest problem with this, I'm very pleased. So for overall quality out of the box, I'm giving this figure a 9 out of 10. And lastly, for the overall value, this is a $20 US deluxe class figure, and I think for what you get for that amount of money, the design, the engineering, the aesthetics of this guy, it's a really good value. It's tough to beat at that price point. So for the overall value, I'm giving this guy an 8 out of 10. So he has a total of 41 points out of possible 50, which comes out to an 82% overall rating for this figure. So that's going to wrap up the review. I hope that you find value in this. I hope this is helpful. And as I always say at the end of these, thanks for watching. Appreciate all the support. And if you haven't already done so, be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. Leave us some comments. Let us know what you think. But yeah, if you can find this guy, run out, pick him up. I don't think you're going to regret it. So until we see you guys in the next review, take care.